Alright, today I want to talk about CAD software. The reason I want to talk about CAD software is because I've been looking through YouTube trying to find something that gives me the basics on Freecad. There are quite a few of them out there, and I picked a few things here and there, but you don't actually get a good basic video on how to use it and start making sketches. And if there are, I couldn't hear anything, and it was just uh, something that I had to pull here and there. And for a new person, that's kind of hard to catch. So I wanted to try and capture that, even though I am not an expert on this program. But I want to try to use it for a couple of reasons. But before I go into that, I want to explain or talk about a little bit more about the CAD software. As you can see, I got my Freecad open. This is version, let's see, 0.15. So it's the latest one there is right now. This system basically works uh, with restraints, not restraints, constraints. Basically, every time you create a sketch, you use constraints, which are going to be right here. And this is one of the things that I had to figure out earlier just to kind of get through that. So every time you try to do a line, for example, you're going to have to use, well, you make a, whatever it is, I'll go ahead and into that in maybe another video, but right now I just kind of want to cover the differences here. So this uses constraints, just like many CAD packages do. The reason that's important is because every time you want to draw something, you have to tell it exactly what you want. Do you want a parallel line, a straight line, or just like any CAD software, but you have to define it. Now, the other software that I like to use is called Design Spark Mechanical, right here. This is the starting page when you open it. And this is more of a push-pull type of system. What that means is basically when you want to make something, you just draw it up, and I don't have to tell it exactly what size it is. I can do it, but I don't have to. So let's go ahead and give you an example of that. Let's say I want to make a circle. Choose circle anywhere I want. I don't have to define the circle now, but I click on it. Go ahead and say pool. Now I can actually move this, or I can go home. It doesn't matter. And then I can just say click it, pull it, and if I press the spacebar, bam, I can say 4 millimeters, and I am done. So that's a push-pull system. It's very intuitive, actually, and that's why I like it. The reason I'm going back to this type of system with constraints is because I ran into a few other issues with my Design Spark where I'm trying to do something very basic and it just doesn't want to do it. And also FreeCAD, you have a lot of options as to file types. Um, I don't see it here. Let me see. Well, I haven't done anything yet, but this one gives you pretty much so many different type of file sizes. I mean, types and things that you can save as and import and do all that because obviously it's open source. Um, the Design Spark is not open source, and you're missing some features unless you get the big what do you call it system that I'm trying to remember the company that makes it, Space Claim. Um, but this is the from RS, I believe it was RS Electronics that have uh, made this available, which is really nice of them. But I still get some critics, especially when I'm doing something so simple that it just sometimes it does drive me nuts. So I've decided that I need to go back and learn to make some parts on the FreeCAD. The reason I chose FreeCAD is obviously because I can use it at home and anybody can use this. You can download it and you start learning it yourself. Uh, Now, since this one is similar to many CAD packages out there, it will come in handy if you ever want to learn something else. It's very similar in the way that it works. However, I feel it's a little, you know, of the old way of doing things. To me, that just doesn't feel so natural, even though I did take a few classes when I was in college. The one I can remember back then was MicroStation. We had a class on that, and it was very similar to that. I mean, they all have different features and the way they do them, but I think MicroStation now has a push-pull. I mean, I haven't looked at it in years, but now getting back into this, I just want to do a simple drawing here. So let's do a sketch and let's make a drawing if I can remember. Okay, so these are your tools right here. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention. If you look at all this, you don't actually have the names under there, which I would like to see. Maybe there is a way to put that out. I'm not sure. But this is the hardest part when you're starting with this software. And most of them are like this too, but they usually have the name, or you can hover over it and it'll tell you what it is. But that took me a while to remember all that since I've been fighting to use it. I know, I know. So let's go ahead and make a rectangle. And I can make a rectangle just like I made the circle over there on the other software, as you can see. And these little lines are basically your constraints, which are right here. Um, that's saying this is, I believe, I'm trying to remember, parallel or straight vertical constraint. There you go. That's what that is. So basically, that's how you start with this. But what I want to do is, for example, on the picture that I have here, where is it? I have 47.5. I want to basically define the size of this. And in order to do that, you're not going to be able to figure it out unless you know. But what you want to do is basically go to, on an earlier version, I think you just clicked it and it would give you the number. Not on this one though. So you have to select it, and I believe it's one of these two. Nope, it's this one right here. See, fix the length of line or distance between objects. So you click on that, select exactly one line or 1 point